You've made the decision to become a minimalist, and now you find yourself asking, what's next? Or what now? You've asked Google or members of that Facebook group that you've just joined, how do I become a minimalist? And maybe Google referred you to several fantastic, high-quality articles, and the members of that Facebook group have given you their best answers. And maybe you have a friend helping you out. You've maybe read some really great books or listened to some fantastic podcasts. But with all of the information flying around out there about how to become a minimalist, let's talk about what's next. I touched on how I answer that question. How do I become a minimalist? And I attempted to give you our best answer from the skis life. And looking back to when Scott first brought this idea about the minimalist movement to my attention and connecting that to now, I see a sort of cumulative process that we went through in getting into the right frame of mind. So what I'm doing is working through that process in a sort of series. The first step, which I covered in my previous video, is getting into the mindset, I want to be a minimalist. It's making that decision and overcoming those hurdles that I touched on. But once you've made that decision and sort of define what this decision means to you, what's next? Aside from the Skis Life family motto, why not? I'm personally very fond of asking what's next. Because what's next is always an adventure, and why not gives us the ability to give ourselves permission to live our intentional life. Thanks for clicking on this video. If you find this entertaining or any of this valuable, give us a like, click or tap that subscribe button, and ring our bell to turn on notifications. If during the course of this video something catches your attention, if our content provides value to you in some way, or if you just want to say hi from wherever you are, drop us a line in the comments. We'd love to hear from you and get to know what's important to you and why. So, becoming a minimalist isn't like joining a club or anything. You're not going to have to register your membership, pay dues, or really even follow a set of rules. You won't have your card revoked for buying your dream car, or buying a certain type of another vehicle or house. I see conversations online all the time, especially now, about to be a minimalist one must only own X number pair of jeans, or about how it's not very minimalist of Miss So-and-so down the road to be living in the house she's living in. Listen, I say this all the time to my family, my friends, and whoever, that being a minimalist is not about living or existing within the boundaries of the bare minimum. It's not about having nothing or even less. I remind Scott of this when he starts complaining about my plants. I mean, I do have a rainforest living in the living room and a garden always on the patio. But here's the thing, those plants, the act of caring for them, seeing them grow, watching my neon pothos sprout new leaves, or seeing any one of my orchids start to grow a new stem fuels my passions, and I feel excitement for that. The thing you do have to do is define your purpose. I mean, yeah, read a few books, get to know and understand the concept, maybe start a P33 challenge, purge a few things from your closet, or a few things here and there. Spend a little time with Marie Kondo on Netflix, or Google this word, which I'm not going to try to pronounce because I'll butcher it. And read those articles. Do your homework and define the word minimalist for yourself. For some people, being a minimalist is a lifestyle, and it's about owning the literal bare essentials to the point that everything fits into one bag. For others, like the Skis Life, it's a tool we use to drive, focus, the path ahead, and that path ahead is our intentionally designed life. So getting back on topic, because I've kind of obviously entered left field here. What's next? You've made the decision to become a minimalist. You define the word for yourself. What's next? What's next is to set your intention. When I talk about intentional lifestyle, I'm literally not talking about color-coded calendars, synced schedules, personal growth charts, chore wheels, pro-con bars, future boards. No. No. First of all, I have ADD. My mom tried those with me. My teachers in school got furious with me because none of it worked, because it just doesn't work for me. Yeah, Scott and I have an 8 by 11 calendar on our fridge where we each write our work schedules so we know when the other is working. And I'll even write Chloe's vet appointments on it. And I do use a calendar app on my phone, but my point is this. I'm talking about how we design something more than our organizational skills or really non-existent itineraries. Let me give you an example. Scott and I know for a fact that we need to travel. Not want to, need to. Yeah, I play around with the idea of owning a piece of land around the foothills, complete with chickens and goats and a garden. And I do love my garden and my plants. But let's stop here and pick that apart a bit. There are two primary ideas there. On the one hand, we have travel. On the other hand, we have a farm. They don't really go hand in hand. The trouble with my farm fantasy, as much as I want chickens, is that I know myself well enough to know that I can't stay in that I can stay in one place for about a year before I start getting really antsy. I start looking for what's next again. I feel that on a very real physical and emotional level. It's pure and raw for me. Imagine being stung by a hornet but being completely incapable of responding to it in any way. It doesn't matter why you're incapable of responding. You just can't physically or emotionally or verbally or any way respond to it. That's how I get. My farm fantasy is usually satiated by reading a book about chicken behavior or growing a pot of tomatoes. So instead of just automatically doing what society tells me to do without questioning it, get a job, buy a house, settle down, pay taxes, die, I've taken the time to sit down with myself, do some serious soul searching, and ask the questions. What feeds my passion? What brings me joy? How do I live my life for me? And going even further back in learning to identify those questions in the first place. In answering those questions, I was able to identify my intention. Another example for the skis life for me, Scott and Chloe, would be the topic of children, which came up a lot when Scott and I first got married and still comes up anytime we make new friends or get a new neighbor. Or just generally meet someone for the first time. We're what I call a single couple. Meaning we don't have children. The way it's worked out is that I simply can't have kids, which I explained the why of that in one of my previous videos. Although I'm pretty sure Scott's sister and possibly whole family had at least a minute of wondering when we got married because of the way we did it, but anyway. When it became a certainty, a dead certainty that I would never be able to have kids of my own, I felt resentment for not being able to make that decision myself, but I didn't feel any great loss. And we've talked about fostering and adopting, but that was a short-lived discussion. We have no real reason for not wanting children or not having children other than the fact that I can't have them and neither of us just simply don't want them, but no real drive to either. When I sit and imagine myself 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, I imagine a life with Scott. Having dogs, spending time with my nieces and nephews and their families, traveling, but for whatever reason, I've never been able to imagine my own kids, and frankly, I don't have the desire to. By the way, my family accepted this a long time ago, so that and with Scott's reasons and thoughts, which I'm not going to get into because he's not here, we've made the intentional decision to simply not have children. Another thing we started, which is an ongoing process full of successes and failures, is intentionally navigating our relationships and marriage. Alright, So I'm not sure I want to get into all of that now because that's not the topic of this video, and it's also a very long conversation, so I'm going to leave that for another video, I think. But do you see a pattern forming yet? The point is that after the initial step of making the decision to become a minimalist, defining what minimalism needs to mean for you, what's next is to set your intention. Yeah, you could just decide minimalism is your answer, but some hoarders and just start throwing stuff out. But decluttering is a process, and like it or not, you have to go through the process of decluttering, or you'll just end up recluttering in one way or another. It's kind of like the ketogenic lifestyle. You have to accept it, stop dieting and commit, or you'll just end up regaining the weight. So if you made the decision to become a minimalist, your how-to is to define what that means and illustrate what it looks like. Your what's next is to set your intention. Thanks for watching. Since you've made it this far, go ahead and give us that thumbs up. Subscribe for more content and ring that bell for notifications. Check for a link to our website in the description below. We publish follow-up articles to all of our videos every week, so go check those out, and we'll see you next time.